this. Hello, everyone. My name is Andres Diaz. Me and Will are back again for a Marvel Plus talk. And late for this Sunday, we're going to discuss the 2002 Spider-Man film directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire, Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, and of course Kirsten Dunst and oh god, James Franco. I forgot about that person. Anyway, so Will, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. And continue our discussion with Spider-Man and his whole 60th anniversary birthday. He has two big special, anniversary for his films. We, of course, last week we did the 2012 reboot starring Andrew Garfield, and now today we're discussing the first and live action Spider-Man film. And I guess start from here. Was this your first movie you saw in theater? Like, do you remember how many movies you saw in theaters? In 2002.
I didn't see this one in theaters.
Oh,
Yeah. I saw it later. I think I rented it from a video store.
you.
But yeah, which is oh man, remember video stores?
Yeah, I mean that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I've watched this movie a lot as a kid.
Oh wow. Oh,
Because it was like, the only like one of the only superhero movies.
oh, only superhero movies. So if we're gonna discount.
No, I said one of the only.
Oh, okay.
It was like I was watching this and
And then the other ones,
X-Men.
And yeah, Blade and.
Well, I was not watching Blade when I
Oh
was.
wow, that's true. Wow, this is a great Sunday. Okay, because the reason I asked this because I this was like my earliest movie experience.
Yeah.
Like, I asked my mom if this was my first because I remember, like, I actually, I did see this film in theaters, but it was my second. I saw Toy Story when I was a baby, and well, I guess I saw it in VH because I was born in '96, and Toy Story came out in '95.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I saw this film. I remember how, like, I mean, just seeing Spider-Man and the effects, and Green Goblin and his quotable evil monologue to Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, and I guess the first thing we can discuss, is this film was very huge, and it helped tremendously, to like vitalize the superhero film genre,
Mm-hmm.
and and continue, with the series moving on, from Spider-Man 2 and 3, we get, the Spider-Man trilogy, helping pave the way for more superhero films to be made, and that's the one positive thing about this film is that. Yeah, and I guess the we discussing last week about Spider-Man, his like values and his like his core essence. I think this film did a really good job of that. And and of course update some of his, well, I mean, I don't know how, like, let's kind of get from there, like how they update, and of course how campy it is, like it feels like a 60 film.
Mm-hmm.
I the way we handle bully, and the girl problem is just so, like, just, I don't know how, like, it's not too mid 2000s like mindset, I would say, for this film, when they're dealing with the things that you usually realistically depict. But let's get to the ownership story. Do you think they did a good job of um uh setting up the origin story in this film. Do you prefer this over the 2012, or you like the 2012's origin take? Like, let's go from there.
I think I prefer the 2012 one. And
Yeah,
we talked about this last week a little bit. Like, I really like The Amazing Spider-Man, even though there's a lot that it does wrong. But I don't know, the Raimi movies are
yeah, very.
I don't know, they're not um, something feels off about them to me, which I
Mm,
know is not a
yeah,
popular opinion, but I like them, but they're not what I want out of a Spider-Man movie.
yeah. I guess for me, I agree you on that. I think a lot of people do, especially how we handle Peter Parker. Like he's too, like he's very like well, what's the word? Samuel, like kind of like the Ralph and Cavill Superman. Like he's very cinematic, or like how what's
Um,
um he's very like I can't say that word. I, I know what I'm saying. It's just it's hard for me to pronounce it.
mm,
It's very something, I don't know. Like he's very just not proactive, and like he's very selfish sometimes in this
mm,
film.
yeah.
Um, you know, and just Toby. I think Toby is a great actor. I think he was a good choice for Spider-Man for this time. But
Mhm.
oh man, there are so many things he does in this film. I think it's far worse than Christian Bale's Batman. Like we got more means on Toby than Christian. I mean I should say fairly equal means. I mean, like he has this weird way of like making those faces,
Mhm.
uh, and it's just like really bizarre. I think their way of like depicting relationship and just character thematics are so genetic, and it's like not realistic for like a mid 2000 film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but where this film exceeded, then the amazing film for me is the comic book stuff, like the more action and Green Goblin and Spider-Man like fights and interaction. Those work in this film, I feel like. Um, I think it's much better than the Lizard. Despite I think this is way better than the Lizard plot. But then the Green Goblin thing, it also doesn't make sense. Like he kills the board, the Oscorp board members, and then like what's he's doing? He's just rolling around and teasing Spider-Man. Like um yeah yeah, I will say this film's screenplay is not just it's not wholly original. It's not the strongest superior screenplay I see
Mhm.
in movies. Because the screenwriter David Koepp is from he did the first two Jurassic Park films. He did The Shadow. He's like a regular like crablier writing partner with Steven Spielberg and Ron Howard. And I just don't know why we have him be the screenwriter for this film. I feel like he just gets like the points. Like, okay, Ben, here's the red actor Spire. That's it. Then get to the villain origin. Okay, here he gets affected with the green formula. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Uh, and then okay, bam, we get to that, and then it's like it's just we're going through the emotions sometimes for this film. Not in a bad way, like Man of Steel or some of the early 2000 films. I feel like Raimi does a really good job of taking like time to develop these, you know, in the
Mhm.
film compared to some of the mid 2000 superhero films,
Mhm.
because that was always the problem with some of them. Like or they like there's a problem of balancing the tone, like the Hulk film
Mhm.
by Ann Lee and Eric Bana. Like I appreciate the film. I mean, I like the Hulk, but like that film is very flawed. Like it goes too far in the dark and psychological like themes, and it kind of alienates people.
Mhm.
or or you can have Fantastic Four, the Tim Story one, where it's just very goofy and it's not taking itself seriously. I think
Mhm.
Raimi does a good job of balancing the seriousness, or the seriousness and the campiness of the film. Well, what do you think about that? Um,
Yeah, I agree. I think it manages to be like campy and silly, but it's still like they're taking time to develop characters and actually tell a story. Um, so there's a balance there.
yeah, um, yeah, it's a balance there. Yeah, and what's your opinion on Tobey Maguire? Was he your third favorite after Andrew and Holland, right?
Yeah, yeah, he would be.
Yeah. So, what's your opinion on his performance in this film? Um, like,
Yeah, I mean his performance is fine. Like I think my criticisms of his Peter Parker aren't really based on his performance so much as just the way that that Peter was characterized in these movies.
yeah,
Um, like the Peter Parker of the Raimi trilogy felt to me like they were throwing the like campy Peter Parker of the original 60s comics just into the early 2000s.
hmm yeah,
And it felt really jarring, um, and it never really worked for me.
yeah,
And that's like speaking as someone who really loves the early comics. But I don't want to see the movie. Like I
yeah.
want a movie to be a little more
A little more
like serious and
serious, and
realistic.
or in this case for me, just getting the character right, like his personality and like like characteristic from the
Hmm.
comics.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, like because we mentioned this from the Amazing film. One of the reasons we like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is he is straight from the comics. Like he's a scientist, like he's a smart individual, and this trilogy and this film specifically, I don't get that impression that he's like the smartest kid in the
Yeah,
block.
there's nothing in these movies that like shows that he's smart. We're told that he's smart in the sequels
Yeah,
because he's working with all the scientists, but he doesn't actually do anything like to earn that.
yeah, I know. Like, I mean, especially in what was it, in Spider-Man 3? Like, he does this like long like like the echo from the Broadway when we see Mary J. and doing her Broadway show, whatever.
Mhm.
And like he was doing this like very scientific monologue, and I just cannot take that seriously. you know,
Mhm.
I mean, it's yeah, and I this is go wait till the end to like another problem. I mean, I like the organic webbing, but I agree with you, Will, that it takes away his just like smartness, like his this handle of mechanics from the comic books.
Mhm.
But then I was thinking to myself, like, can we see that if he was building the spire signal he usually has from the comic books, or but then that's maybe going too far and saying that's like a Batman ripoff. I I will acknowledge that. I was like, I mean, do you think it could have been that far to see the spire signal here in these films?
Yeah, I think like any kind of like tech that he could have made would have been good since they got rid of the web shooters,
Yeah,
just to show that he's like capable of making stuff like that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I agree. Or uh, or I was thinking about this. When we discussed the amazing film and in the sequel, like the thing I appreciate about Andrew and of course with Gwen, I think they should have done was maybe make Toby's character have like the finale where he outthinks his villains,
Hmm.
because these films are very just so like superhero trope of, he lets his villains get killed. Um, it's more here in Spider-Man 3, where Spider-Man 2 is more different, where like Doc Ock there sacrificed himself to save New York from
Hmm.
his, son, like Soto machine that he built early on. So because I feel like maybe he should like outsmart Goblin while he was fighting him towards the end of the film, but I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that they should have put more effort on his scientific prowess, as you usually see in his comics and the animation show.
Hmm.
But I just I don't know. It had to be a different villain to counter that. Like maybe if we had Doc Ock here first, then maybe it could work. But I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that's this whole thing. I would say, uh, like, what is it? This is like the first time, if you discount the like pulp heroes from the '90s, like ever since Superman the movie, we haven't gotten like a very like straightforward like comic accurate suit. And one of the things is very impressive, you know, by this time is seeing a Spider-Man suit so accurate.
Hmm.
I still like the Maguire Spider-Man suit. It's still classic. I do like the Spider-Man 2 more, but I it's just pure nostalgia feel of this original suit. I think it's very impressive how the production people have brought this suit to life. I really like the look of it. I like the lens here. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like the like textured webbing on the suit.
Yes, the
The
raised
the
webbing.
raised, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. Um, did you check out the concept art for this original film?
No, I actually haven't seen that.
Okay. Okay, so the reason I bring this up because obviously the Green Goblin suit is not. I mean, it's cool. I don't mind the suit, but like you know it's okay. It's not amazing, right?
Hmm.
There were attempts to make it scary or more military look, as the film depict on Osborn in this series.
Hmm.
Um, and it's tough to say how you can bring that to life. Now, the Spider-Man suit, they were very faithful. It was depending how they want to raise the webbing in the suit or how the eyes were. Sometimes they were small, and then sometimes it was big. Now, this is funny. Um, Alex Ross, um, like drew up a concept art that looks similar to the Superior Spider-Man suit. Uh, when Doc Ock took over Peter Parker, the black and red suit.
Hmm.
Um, that was actually early on in this production, and there's like, you need to check it out in the web. It's there, and there's like a person wearing like a version of that concept art to life, and it's it's funny that the red and black was like considered, because I don't like. It's funny how maybe they were not sure if they could pull off the red and blue suit that for Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So that was cool and like convenient that it was like early on before it made it into the comics and made it into the Spider-Man films. Like we got the red and black suit for Spider-Man, you know, later on. So but speaking of Green Goblin, let's get into that. I love Green Goblin. Willem Dafoe is an amazing actor. I love him in everything he's in, even the bad ones. Like he's great in Triple X State of the Union. I know you've seen that. That's what's Ice Cube.
No, I haven't.
Oh god, you have to see it. It's too funny, and it's a guilty pleasure bad film. To a sequel to a very like campy action James Bond film starring Vin Diesel and Samuel L. Jackson. um, I love Willem Dafoe, and he's like the main reason I was so happy with Spider-Man: No Way Home and this film. I think this is truly one of the best comic book villain performances ever. What do you think about Green Goblin in this film?
Yeah, I think he's great. I think Willem Dafoe's probably my favorite part of the movie.
Mhm.
As I rewatch it now, um, he's just so good. Like he's got the perfect face for like a like crazed villain. You know?
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, I mean, do you hear everyone like he's such a good pick for the Joker? Like,
I I was watching his he hosted SNL last week, and
mhm.
he referenced that everyone always says he should play the Joker.
Oh my god. Oh my god, yes. I mean, he has the perfect laugh. Like
Hmm.
when he does the goblin laugh, it's like so Joker, you know. It's crazy. Um,
Hmm.
there was a clip he did like a theater like stage performance, and he's wearing white makeup, and it's so surreal. Like he looks like the Joker in that white makeup. I need to find that because it's just so surreal. Um, yeah, and one of these I appreciate about um William's portrayal of Green Goblin. He really like how you say it, he makes a great attempt to differentiate himself from the Norman persona to the Green Goblin persona. Like you know, like he makes the two different voices, like how you know Christian Bale or Keaton did in Batman. Like when they're Bruce Wayne, they have a very clear voice,
Hmm.
or when they go into the Batman role, like Keaton, when he becomes Batman, like he has a very whispery voice, and you cannot tell that's Keaton. Like he is Batman with that whispery voice from '89 and Returns, or you know Bale's raspy voice in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Hmm.
Um, I like how Defoe like makes this different voice for the Goblin, and like he's that's not William Dafoe, that's Green Goblin, and we he does that again in No Way Home, which I appreciate. There's like a consisting with his like Green Goblin persona, like he does the you know the split personality so well in this film, which is great. What do you think about his different portrayal of Norman and Green Goblin, like the split personality when we see this film? Um,
Yeah, I think he's really like believable as both,
yeah,
which can be hard to do. But Willem Dafoe's able to pull it off. It
yeah.
did start the trend that I hated about the Raimi movies and the Webb movies, where all of the villains had to be like insane.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Um,
right? Sandman was the only one that wasn't, right?
uh, that's yeah, I guess so. That's weird. What
Yeah,
about?
it just really bothered me that none of the villains could be evil for the sake of being evil.
Mm,
You know, like they couldn't have any proper motivation. It was just like, oh,
mm,
something happened and they snapped, which bothered me. Especially like Doc Ock doesn't. You can do Doc Ock and give him an actual motive, and instead they were like, oh, the arms are talking to him.
I don't know. I like I like the tentacle arms being alive. I I don't know. That was like a neat like was it like added addition to the mythos of Doc Ock and all that. When we get to Spider-Man 2, I I think they improve the villain motivation. I well, I don't want to talk too much about Doctor, but I think they did a better job with that. My problem is in Spider-Man 3. I feel
Yeah,
like they recreated too much
yeah,
in that.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you with that statement. Um,
Yeah, think if you take each one on like an individual basis, it's fine,
mhm,
except
yeah,
for maybe Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2.
yes,
Um, but just like as a trend, it's boring to see the same thing over and over again, you know?
yeah,
Which is what I liked. I liked that in Holland's movies, um, the villains like had actual motives and were like
like, well,
doing things because they had goals and not because they were
yeah,
crazy and hated Spider-Man.
yeah, I agreed. Yeah, and the smart thing that the MCU Holland films did is that they're grounded in reality. Like it's there's like a
Yeah, which is
grounded,
weird because it's the least
yeah,
realistic universe. But yeah,
yeah, um,
they're more realistic than the
yeah,
Raimi and Webb movies. They feel more realistic at least.
yeah. Well, and yeah, that's that's always I think it's always tough with superhero films with the villains.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's like how like fantastical or how low key they are, and it sometimes doesn't help that they're in this film where it's like a certain tone they're doing.
Hmm.
I I mean with you can complain whatever you want with the Iron Man films and the villains. I mean Iron Man always battle corporate villains. Like that's who they are, and he has a couple, enhanced villains, but it's just, there's not they're in between.
Hmm.
Um, Spider-Man has so many like fantastical villains uh of that. I agreed. The villain's problem and their motivation gets worse in the amazing films because it's like I don't know. Like I I don't like when they don't like go in deep with the villain's motivation, and that's where I
Hmm.
have a problem with the films. Like that's been
Yeah.
a big issue with some of the MCU villains. It's like
Yes, absolutely.
it's just just yeah
They're so focused on the hero that they don't flesh out the villain.
yeah,
Um,
and that's
or
I
if it's Captain Marvel, they don't flesh out either.
yes. Um, See, I want to say something here, right? I think this is a
Hmm.
good way for me to like what I like about Marvel and the MCU. I want the heroes to be the focus.
Yeah.
Um, but allow your villain to have personality and
Hmm.
like a quirk that I can get into. So I can forgive this very like sloppy villain plot they have in the film. Like the
Hmm.
Green Goblin's plot here is not original or engaging, but like Defoe's performance keeps me engaged in the film.
Right. Yeah.
I I want that. You know, like
Yeah.
like that's the problem with the MCU films is they don't allow their performers to like shine or like they have this moment like you appreciate their performance in the villain. Like the most iconic thing with Willem Dafoe is him talking to the mirror, like when the goblin persona starts to talk to him, when he wake up and
Hmm.
he reads the papers about his company going under and all that, and like his Green Goblin persona talks to him, and he's like, he discovered that he killed the board members, and that scene is so iconic. Like,
Hmm.
it's like it shows the just full commitment of the role. You don't get that with the MCU films like Malekith. Like he doesn't have a
Yeah.
monologue
It's
or
complete nothing. Yeah.
exactly. Like there's no scene. Like that's why I like the X-Men films. Like First Class, you got Sebastian Shaw talking about his mutant like superiority goals and
Hmm.
reviewed, or Trax. Like the reason I like Days of Future Past, Trax has this scene with Stryker about he sees mutants as an opportunity to bring equality to all people in the world.
Hmm.
To fight a common goal, and that scene is important to understand Trax as a villain.
Hmm.
Like we need that every film. And then I could forget the horrible plot sloppiness and all of that. That's why I appreciate Willem Dafoe here. He just brings his A game, and like um another factor that makes him good is quotable lines. What's your favorite quote from Green Goblin? I'm curious.
Oh man. I mean, it's definitely been like colored by the memes that have come out of this movie. But I really love I'm something of a scientist myself line.
Yeah, I knew you were
Uh,
gonna say that.
yeah, it's just, oh man, it's a great meme. It's fun to just throw into a conversation. Um,
Wait. You think that's a meme? I never understood that quote. Like I get what he was saying to Pierre, but like I never understood that that's like the most iconic line he
I
say.
think it's just you can use it in a lot of different situations,
Oh,
so it like takes on new meaning.
okay,
And you can like tweak it. So yeah, it's just it's just fun.
okay,
Uh, yeah.
okay. I will say, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You had to give me an example, and I will totally understand what it means
Oh,
because
I'll send you some memes.
oh my god, the one I remember from Goblin, he when he tells Spider-Man about his consequences of not choosing the side with Goblin, and he's like,
Hmm.
gonna attack, what was it, again and again. Uh, what was it? What was it? I have the quotes here. I'm looking for it. Uh, say somebody don't play. It's me. Uh, uh, Green Goblin. Speak of the devil. That's another one. Here we go. I cook stress. Here's the line. There's 800 people in the city. These temping masses exist for sole purpose of lifting few exceptional people onto their shoulders. You and me, you're exceptional. I could squash you like a bug right now. And then he's like, offering a choice to him, and he say, "Join me," like like the Sith joining the dark side.
Hmm.
And then this the part that always gets me. He's like, "Could we destroy, cause the deaths of countless innocents in selfless battle again and again and again until we both dead?" And then his eyes kind of like drops down, like his goggles drops down, and then that scene is iconic. I think that's the most iconic Goblin quote there.
Hmm.
Um, or the May one. When May like does the praying, and then goblins attack her, and he say like, finish it, and she say, from evil, and he laughs. That's another iconic thing. But anyway, yeah, many quotes from Goblin. That is very iconic. Okay, so moving from like the Green Goblin. Oh, last thing. I do appreciate this, and I wish um DC learn this. Is just use one villain. Like, you know, just use one villain for your film, then you're fine. Don't
Hmm.
crowd your superhero film with two villains. Like this, it's been a problem with some of the DCU films, like Wonder Woman 1984, or I mean any of the Batman films. I mean, like
Yeah.
you don't want me to run down the problem of Returns forever, and Robin, and even Dark Knight Rises. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I
I think the only way you could get it to really work is if is what I've always wanted from Spider-Man movies
mm,
is for them to do like Spider-Man and a villain for each film, and then have 6 movies, and then have the sixth one be all of those villains teaming up for a Sinister Six versus Spider-Man thing,
yeah,
which is kind of what No Way Home was.
yeah,
That scratched that itch, but yeah, I think the secret is to develop the villains in their own movie, so that when you get to having them all in the same movie, they're like you don't have to spend time establishing their character. You're already familiar with them, so they can just do everything. Like that's what made the Avengers work. And
mm,
I think you'd have to do the same thing with the villains because the villains are going to be just as important as the heroes.
yeah. No, I agree. Um, like, I mean, I feel like the MCU should know that, like
Hmm.
they knew that with Loki and
Yeah,
um,
like they've done it a few times.
yeah,
Even just like having Thanos show up a bunch of times before he was actually like
yeah,
an important part of the plot was
yeah,
good.
yeah. Well, this is where I think Marvel, like the first X-Men film, and this is like like I know, like I understand that Green Goblin dies here, but like we do remember him in the series, and like he does come back in a different form, of course. If you read the comics, right?
Mhm.
And because before we had so many of these superhero films, the usual way of handling these villains was either keep the one villain alive, the main one, right, and then kill off the second one. That started very clearly in Batman Returns, and then uh, and but then we got a little smarter with that, with X-Men keeping Magneto alive, um and stuff like that. But also the you mentioned the Sinister Six. I feel like if they know, if they wanted to do the Sinister Six later on, like they should have known if they kept that. But uh, the problem is, from like this early days of the mid 2000s, like franchise thinking was different
Right.
from what the MCU is. So I, it, the Sinister Six was never like I think a thing you think about it. When you're
Well, I
making, I
definitely not for the Raimi movies, but that was
no,
explicitly what they were going for with the Andrew Garfield movies.
yeah, yeah. When we get to Amazing Man too, like the way they did it was just awful. I mean, the way
Yeah,
they
they
said,
tried to do it in 3 movies instead of 6, and that's
yeah. I mean,
yeah, it didn't work.
yeah. I mean, well, they kill off Electro. Like how? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like. I don't know. It's real bizarre. Um, but you mentioned killing off the villain. You don't. Like, do you mind that Green Goblin die in this film? And like, or you have a problem with that? Like,
I think I would have preferred to have Norman like stick around and be like the overarching uh villain for like
mm,
the whole trilogy. Because I really
right,
like when Norman is just like a powerful guy working behind the scenes, like in the shadows.
mm,
Like when he's the big bad instead of just a one-off.
that's true. Um, I I mean, if you think about at the time, I mean, in
Yeah.
hindsight, you know, because of Spider-Man 3 and how that film is,
Hmm.
um, I think it was a good decision because Harry was in this film. You know,
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah. And
you know,
sorry, you go first.
no. I very quickly, Harry. If you were gonna make Harry the Goblin, then it made sense to get rid of Norman and then set up the whole Harry as the Goblin thing. And
Hmm.
um, and obviously that wasn't satisfying at the
Yeah.
end of Spider-Man 3. So we'll discuss that more in Spider-Man 3. So finish your thought. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt.
No, I was interrupting you. You don't have to be sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
But
I
it's all right. But I was just gonna say, like, I I don't think they necessarily knew that they were gonna get sequels too, so I think it makes sense to kill them off in that sense.
yes, no,
Because then it completes the story arc, and the film exists as a standalone thing, and it
yeah,
doesn't feel like it's just a like part one of a bigger story.
yeah. Um, it's funny. It's funny. I mentioned the first X-Men film. Like, it's. Superman in the movie did camp Lex at the end of the film. So what am I saying? But it's kind of funny that the first X-Men we made the smart move of keeping Magneto, and
Hmm.
here it's kind of funny for me that we had to kill off Green Goblin. And as you were explaining, like he could have been a great overall like arching villain for
Hmm.
the trilogy, but I don't know. But you hit the right reason why they didn't do it because they didn't know if they were going to get a sequel.
Yeah.
So and at the time, the superhero films didn't perform as big before Spider-Man did it. That big, $800 billion,
Yeah,
mark,
which
and
is insane for 2002.
exactly. And so, I it just, this was risky.
Hmm.
So I understand why they did it. So, you know, but at least we got smart. In the Amazing films, we kept Lizard alive.
Hmm.
Uh, we kept Vulture alive in Homecoming, and some of his crew and Scorpion. So we got better keeping some villains. It's just we didn't keep a lot of villains after the first films.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. And I guess this is a good way to kind of go into Harry Osborn. And let me preface this. I know James Franco is horrible and he's not a great guy. And
Yeah.
I seen his like like weird apology article. Like it's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Not a good apology, but
No.
uh, what do you think about James Franco's performance as Harry? And um, I don't like him. I think he was a good Harry Osborn. I think he had good chemistry with Toby.
Hmm.
Um, I think we were heading in the right direction with Harry as a character that I knew, especially from the '90s show.
Hmm.
And I think this film did a really good job. And the best thing about this is his relationship with his father was really great. They like understood the like Harry and Norman relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Harry and Norman stuff is really strong. Um, yeah. Franco. I mean, he's a he's a terrible person, but he's a really good actor.
Mhm.
Uh, so his performance is good here. Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I always thought it was weird that he and Peter were friends. Like it seems like they're just friends because no one else wants to be friends with either of them. Because Harry's a jerk for no reason, and then
oh my god, that's so
uh,
funny.
Peter's just a total dweeb. So I feel like they're friends because they're both rejects,
Both
and not
jerks.
necessarily because they have anything in common.
Yeah, I, you like explain to me in the comics. Like I did wonder that, um, a little bit, like how they became friends. I don't remember in the comics how they became friends. I feel like he meets Harry from one of the like supporting characters that we know, like Liz Allen, like was dating Harry, right? Like I don't know. Like, you bring up a good point about that. I was I never thought about their relationship and like, um,
Yeah.
I, you know.
Um, yeah, in the comics, they went to college together.
Oh, so okay, okay, that makes a lot more sense. All right, yeah. Um, no. You're right because in the '90s
And I
show,
think he was friends with Gwen Stacy in the comics.
yeah, um, yeah, because yes, because Gwen appears in the college years because I know Flash and Liz Allen were in high school. Like, I
Hmm.
I knew that. Yeah, because the because I'm thinking about the Green Goblin appearing. Like, okay, so Gwen appeared in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 31 in December of 1965. So yeah, a couple years after, you know, um, yes, he's in the college years because he was like the first romantic interest following his high school graduation. So yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, he has a lot of supporting characters. I cannot keep up this his whole friends thing. Yeah, he appears the same issue with Gwen, as I was mentioning, December 1965. So yeah, you're right, Will. Um, yeah, that's weird because in the '90s show, like he's in college in that version, you know, and because I think afterwards we kind of keep the Raimi version, like Harry has been a best friend to Peter in high school,
Hmm.
you know, because after this you see this in Spectacular, and then you see this in the Disney XD Ultimate Spider-Man, and then
Hmm.
again maybe in that other Marvel Spider-Man show,
Yeah.
right? Like that's been, there, but then the the Amazing films, it it implies they knew each other in child, like in like early childhood and not in high school.
Hmm.
So it's up and down with the
Yeah.
Harry and
I
um
think the James Franco version became the like definitive version of Harry Osborn to a
hmm,
lot of people. And so everything that came out after this movie was just kind of inspired by the 2002 film.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I think if I had to be honest, I don't know if you will like see this opinion, but I think he's like the most comic accurate character in this film compared to others, in my opinion. I mean, well, he's second after one person we're gonna discuss soon, Um, uh, but
Yeah, yeah, I'd put him as second. I don't know.
or who's second? Well, if you want me to put him third after Goblin, yes, will. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, mm,
Well,
I might put him.
just I
Mhm.
because yeah, because like we have Robbie and um Betty here, and they're good portrayals. I mean, they
Yeah, I don't think they're in the movie enough to.
exactly. So
Um,
so yeah.
but I think Aunt May is really good.
Oh
That
yes,
was that was my number one.
yeah. Okay, okay. Well, my number one is it's like the obvious one. Like, I mean, the guy is such a perfect casting choice for this
Mhm.
character. So, okay, let's get into the Uncle Ben and Aunt May
Oh yeah,
characters.
yeah. Wait, I forgot about J
Yeah,
Donut. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, Jody, that's what.
Never mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. They cram in like the well-known ones here,
Mhm.
and and I mean, and then of course MJ's here, and obviously why she was here was because the '90s show had her first, so
Mhm.
um, so I mean, this like the Raven films are not. only looking at the 60s, but like they're looking at what the 90s show did. And like, this film is half high school slash, the college years,
Hmm.
um, and which I don't mind. I always liked the college Spider-Man. He was always my preferred version.
Hmm.
I don't mind the high school thing, but it's just I don't I don't like the teen drama sometimes, and it's like you know, but whatever. Yes, let's discuss Uncle Ben and Aunt May. We had like a lengthy discussion like from 2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks ago or last week.
Last week, I think.
Yeah, last week. And obviously, I think I like Cliff Robinson. He's my definitive version of Uncle Ben.
Hmm.
He's so perfect, and his way of saying "great power" with oh my
With
god,
great power comes great responsibility.
yes, thank you. Oh my god, I know that. How I forget? It's just too much. I'm sorry. Oh god, yeah, he does it so well. Like he does it so passion. And I mentioned in the 60th anniversary talk, his death is the most like it hits me so hard. It's like, oh, he just kills it. I think he's like the perfect version. Um, as Uncle Ben, I think they did a good job of casting May and Ben as the uh, financial figures of Spider-Man.
Hmm.
And I guess I know the parents thing. Um, we're gonna get them in the amazing films. Did you question they didn't dress the parents in this film?
No, I mean, I've never liked the parent stuff for Spider-Man,
Okay.
so
Um.
I was absolutely fine with him just living with Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Okay. Not with the weird spy thing, but like in general, like why we didn't get like a mention of what happened to them. Like did they die? Like
Yeah,
you know
I
you know
mean, I think it's safe to just assume that they died. I don't know. I never really like,
thought about it. Um.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Um.
People have different family situations, so
Oh. Okay. That's true. Okay.
uh,
I I'm just asking because um it's not like a glary thing, but like it's
mhm.
kind of
Yeah,
fascinating they don't address that
mhm.
for like one line basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, so fascinating. You say Aunt May is the second best character in in terms of comic book accurate. So can you like explain that more in detail? I'm kind of curious.
I don't know. She's
uh,
just like, I mean, she looks exactly like Aunt May. Like when I picture Aunt May, I picture Rosemary Harris.
that's
Um,
true. Yeah.
and I don't know, she's there for Peter. Um, she's
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, no, I kind of get that. It's it's I you also had to remember like this was kind of how grandparents were during this time. Like they weren't like how the other Aunt May from the MCU is like where that was more like accurate with what's going on during the mid to 2010s. Like grandparents were older. And
Yeah, well, yeah, like I always thought that like when I was younger, I always thought that Ben and May were his like great aunt and great uncle.
oh,
Uh
okay.
and,
Um,
and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because they're really old. But there's nothing like textual to back that up because they're just like normal aunt and uncle. But
yeah,
um
yeah,
yeah, it never registered as weird to me that they were old
yeah.
until I figured out that they were supposed to be that Ben was supposed to be Aunt
Um,
Judy's brother.
yeah, and then May is Piers Bond's sister, right? Or
Ben. No, Ben is the one that's is May.
that's how I remember it.
Are they both?
Hold on. I
I
knew,
mean, because Ben and Richard are definitely related because they're both Parker. But
yeah. Oh,
it's
I'm
possible that they're both like that.
I'm looking at it now. I think I'm looking
May
at,
Parker. Last name was Riley.
yeah.
That makes sense. And
May
then
Yes, he when Bane. So he's the oldest brother because Richard Parker is the youngest,
yeah,
and May. So then, um, the mom. Like I always knew the mom was May's sister, or maybe she's just. Um. Oh man, I knew I do this, but now I'm like questioning it now. Um. Hold on. Let me. This is May. So
okay. Richard and Mary Parker.
so
No, I don't think Aunt May was related to
okay. No.
his
I think
mom.
you're right.
I'm
Silly
looking at
me.
they have a Wikipedia page, and so Aunt May's maiden name
Just
was Riley, like Ben Riley, and then
uh-huh.
Mary Parker's maiden name was Fitzpatrick.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the Ben Park, the Uncle Ben is right. He's the brother of Richard. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Because wow, that was way too complicated to, to go through. But thank goodness they didn't discuss that in the film, so that's good. Um, okay, and, um, I guess we can move on to MJ. Let's kind of discuss that
Mhm.
because I have mixed feelings about it. I like Kristen Dunst as an actress.
Mhm.
I don't mind her in this first film. I like again the screenplay is not strong. They just do like the bare bones of like what you know about MJ. You know, like she has like a broken home, right?
Mhm.
She likes to well, she's like aspiring actress. I guess that's a I don't know a good update from her modeling career as you know her from the comics.
Mhm.
Um, uh, they do like a confident job, but her attitude and just the Peter and MJ relation is fine here, but it gets worse in the sequels.
Yeah.
So go ahead. What's your opinion on MJ in this first film?
Yeah. I
Just
mean, in like taking the first film alone, I think she's fine. She's good.
yeah,
Yeah, like you said, I think the aspiring actress thing is a good update of the modeling career.
yeah,
I like that they touched on her like family drama a
yeah.
little bit. But I don't know. Like my favorite version of MJ has been the more recent versions where she's a journalist.
Oh yes, from
It
the
gives her some more like agency and ability to like interact with the actual like Spider-Man plots.
yeah, yeah. And this is before the PS4 because I don't want the audience get confused. Like or was the PS4 the first thing that did that? Will
I No, because I know
okay.
in the at least in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon on Disney XD, she was working
Yes,
for the Daily Bugle, and I'm
yes.
sure she's been doing that in other adaptations as well.
No. You're right. I did remember. I now remember. Yeah, before I was growing up as a man, I I saw a little bit of Ultimate Spider-Man, and I I remember she was doing the journalism thing, and um yeah, I like what you're saying. I It goes too far. Like it's being too similar to Lois Lane and Superman. Like
Mm,
that was the,
yeah, I can see that.
like when they did it in that cartoon, I was like, okay, like really, But then I got used to it, and I liked the way they did it in the PS4, and so
Hmm.
what you were saying makes more sense. One thing I want to mention, I'm bringing up the '90s show. I was kind of surprised they didn't bring her aunt in the film.
Mm,
Um, I don't know what her aunt name is, but like she's the one that didn't like Peter, and in the '90s show, and she brings the Punisher to stalk Peter Parker, uh, and see if he did something to her niece.
hmm.
Um, I was kind of surprised they didn't bring her in this film or the series, really. But I mean, but yeah, I agreed. I mean, the upside down kiss is iconic. Um, I I want to bring that up, and you know,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, I just wish she had some spunk. Like, like that's what MG is. Like, she's a very spunky person,
Hmm.
and I just don't think Kristen Dunst exhibited that. Like, she's very, I don't know, like she's very down to earth, and I don't know. So I just feel like she's not like a spunky person. I feel like Emma Stone had that, but she was with a different character. That's I don't know, like it's quite bad. I think Zendaya had that spunk, and I feel like she had
Hmm.
that right attitude that MJ needs. Um, like
Yeah.
I know from the comics.
Hmm.
So at least they improved that. Um, which is weird because she's a alternate version of that character. But we're not gonna get into that. Um, so okay, after MJ, let's get into the obvious person we haven't discussed yet. Of course, is JJ Jameson, of course, played by J.K. Simmons. Great casting. Um, what's your thoughts on this guy after we discuss him a little bit from last week?
Yeah. Um, I mean, he's synonymous with the role. Like
Yeah,
you can't have J. Jonah Jameson anymore without it being J.K. Simmons.
I know.
It's
It's
just like some of the best casting from any movie, for any character. Like he's just so good and so like charismatic and oh man, yeah,
yeah,
it's perfect.
yeah, very iconic. Uh, my favorite. I want to get into quotes. My favorite line when he say, "Oh, uh, if the spider is why he's so scared, like we can take a picture of Julie Roberts' bra." That light kills me
Mhm.
when Jameson when we first have his introduction, and like, oh man, Jameson just kills it with the lines he says, and like Hoffman, his the running out of him, like just like annoying and like cutting off Hoffman every time in the
Mhm.
trilogy is it doesn't get old. It's still funny. Um, I don't want to get into Spider-Man 2, but I love his laugh there when like Peter asks him if he like, can you give me a raise, and he starts laughing. Oh my god, it was so funny. And then Hoffman naming Dr. Octopus, and it's like crap, crap. And then he say obviously the weirdest, like convenient line, because we're gonna get this movie, the Doctor Strange line from
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2. And he's
Mhm.
like, oh, that's pretty good. Let's take it. Oh my god. Oh god. Jameson is so funny in this trilogy. And the reason he's my number one, he is perfectly comic accurate. Like he keeps Peter safe when the goblin attacks the bugle, and
Mhm.
he doesn't like he doesn't name Parker. I really appreciate that. Like, and that's where I like. That's a good way to know they're handling the material right, because he does that in Spectacular Spider-Man when the Rhino attacks in the Daily Bugle, and like when Parker comes out in this, I don't know, closet, and he does like a posture to tell Peter not to come, and like he keeps him safe. Like it's such a um great character. Like he does care for Peter and his staff, and it's just great detail. I love that about Jameson and this film.
Mhm.
So and I like the Bugle members. I like the addition of Hoffman. If you don't know, that's like, of course, Sam Raimi's brother, and he always teases his brother in every film. If you've seen the Raimi films, um, so he Hoffman's great. I like him, and I think um Robbie is well cast. I think he's really great. He's definitely the Robbie I know from the comics and the '90s show. Brent as well. She's um it's I have a question, Will. This is
Mhm.
I think this is actually good to mention this up. When you go back to see a film, um go back to see a film and you recognize the actors,
Mhm.
um do you always have this moment of like, oh, is this actor in this film? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Like
So
I definitely had that moment when I was rewatching this movie a few weeks ago, and I saw Octavia Spencer in the
yes.
restaurant scene.
Oh my god,
I was like,
yes.
oh, and Elizabeth Banks as
That's the one I'm talking
yeah,
about, because I
yeah,
was
as
like,
Betty
oh
Brant. Yeah,
yeah.
I was like, oh, all right, you're in this.
Yeah, it's weird. And
Uh,
then Joe Manganiello, um
mhm.
who played like, he's famous from True Blood, and he played Deathstroke and Justice League. He's Flash Thomas. I can say Thomas now. Flash Thomas. Flash in this film.
Yeah.
He does come back in Spider-Man 3.
Mhm.
So that's cool. Yeah, I have like seen these like famous actors. They're not famous at this time. It's like very weird. Like, I mean, Octavia Spacer is in Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie sequel,
Mhm.
and yeah, unfortunately, she gets killed horribly by Michael Myers. Anyway, uh, um, yeah. So yeah, and oh my god, it's weird to see this film. Cool. Easter eggs. I want to say, the the scientists that Osborn has early in the film.
Mhm.
I think he's a villain from the comic books. I think I let me. Oh, he's the Dr. Meadow Storm. He's
Mhm.
the robot master from the comics. So that's who he is in this film. So that was a cool Easter egg villain that if you didn't know, he's in this film. So
Mhm.
before he gets killed from the Green Goblin in the first test of the super soldier formula. Oh, Louis Lucy Lawless has a cameo here.
Yeah.
She's the punk rock girl. Very young. I mean, she looks beautiful as a punk rock girl. I would say.
Mhm.
um, what else?
Yeah, I just found out this week that she's from New Zealand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought she was American, like, but for years, because
Really?
I've only ever seen her play Americans,
Yeah.
and her
I
accent's really good, I guess, like her fake American accent.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
yeah,
Cena. I mean, right? Cena, the Word Princess, and the evil Ash versus the Evil Dens.
yeah. Uh,
Uh,
Parks and Rec and
oh,
Shield.
yes, Shield. I knew. I saw her recently. I was like, oh no, she's in season 2 of Shield in the opening, and then a flashback. Anyway, you got Mason Gray, the singer, the R&B soul singer here, who's in that
Hmm.
like World Fair. Very like it dates the film if you know that. What else? Oh, and when I mentioned the scientists, we got like two other comic book villain names that they mentioned. Of course, Connors get a like a drop
Hmm.
name here from Peter. Um, and then Brock has a drop as well. So like 80 was there. So yeah, we got that. And then the wrestler, that's the was it the bone saw.
Hmm.
He he's funny. That's another iconic thing from this movie. But I guess we're gonna get into like the most recurring gag I like is the Bruce Campbell cameo, and
Hmm.
we need to mention that. What's your favorite cameo from him? My favorite. Still, I don't. I know people don't like Spider-Man 3, but I love his cameo there. It's just too funny. As the French waiter or like the I don't know what you call it that you talk to when you enter in the restaurant. Like that's my favorite cameo from Bruce Campbell.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you like his cameo here or Spider-Man 2?
It'd probably be Spider-Man 3 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes. It's just funny every time he thinks Pierce is like seeing him, and it's like, oh, and he does the last time he claps his people is like, go back. And it's too funny. He has a mustache, like
Hmm.
the like French stash. It's just really bizarre. Yeah, I love how he calls Spider-Man like he gives the name of your superhero in the film. And it's like the like Peter thinks the human spider, and he's like, "That's all you got." And I love he say the amazing Spider-Man. Like, that's great. But yeah, so do we cover everything here? Oh, uh, last thing before we kind of wrap up things. The score. Um,
Yeah.
and I want to also add in the Amazing Spider-Man score from the late great James Horner. I really enjoyed that score as well. Um, I think both composers are great. I really appreciate Noah Helm bringing those themes back into the specific characters of Andrew and Toby.
Hmm.
Um, I want to give a shout out to the late great James Horner from the Amazing Spider-Man film. But yeah, let's get to Danny Elfman. What do you think about his score of this first Spider-Man and the trilogy? I think it's iconic. I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I'd agree. Um, yeah,
yeah
definitely iconic. Go like pairs well with the movie.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I think I prefer the one from Homecoming
oh, with the
personally.
the 60s theme that Michael
Well, that too.
Giacchino combines.
But I also
Okay,
just like the Homecoming suite for
yeah.
like a theme for Spider-Man. But the Danny Elfman one's really good.
Oh, yeah. That's tough. I just wish the Michael Giacchino bring back the 60s theme because he incorporated a little bit in the Spider-Man Homecoming, and then
Yeah, I loved that they had it play during the Marvel Studios logo in that movie.
yeah. Oh my god, I was freaking out when I heard that. I was like, yes, we're in a good spot. Yeah. Danny Elfman score is great. It's so weird that both Batman composers has been scoring like the majority of superhero scores of this decades. Like if we ever discuss the Hulk and the film, because he has his 60th anniversary, uh,
Hmm.
he scores the Ang Lee Hulk, and then he scores the Age of Ultron, and then he's coming back in Doctor Strange too, and so he's replacing Jenny Kino from for Doctor Strange, and
Wow.
yeah. So he's coming back to do another superhero score. So now he's done two Dickel characters in this lifespan. And then yeah, and then Simmer like as well has gone into other scores. After Batman, he did Man of Steel, Spider-Man, um, Dark Phoenix, and of course Wonder Woman 1904. And I will predict that Jenny Kegel will now score every score after the Batman will come out. So yeah. And speaking of soundtracks, this had probably made the most iconic soundtrack. I love the Hero song that plays towards the end.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a good one. It's by the lead singer of Nickelback.
Yes.
Which people always dunk on Nickelback because they're, just like a mediocre rock band. But that Hero song's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. I like Nickelback. I like their songs.
I feel like people act like they're terrible when they're fine.
Yeah,
I think it's just like more of a meme to make fun of them. Like, I don't know. People seem to hate things that are just mediocre more than they hate things that are bad.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like the change of climate. Like now, before, like people didn't mind the Transformer films, but then like all of a sudden, like they started to hate them. But it's like, wait a minute, they've been awful since the second film. Like I don't.
Yeah, like the quality hasn't really changed.
Exactly. Like I don't understand that. Like I don't know. I feel like I think we got spoiled sometimes, and like it just I don't know. I also feel like some generations take it too far on being accurate, and then something ethical, and it's like, what are you gonna do? That like it was that time, Just I don't know. I agree. It's just I think they're a great band. I mean, they're not doing the girl chasing thing. They do, but I mean I don't know. They're not like the pretty band like NSYNC or that. So I don't know. Any more thoughts, Will, on Spider-Man, the 2002 film?
I don't know. I just like I said, like it's a fine introduction to Spider-Man. It's a little campy for my taste, but it's good. It's fun. It's an entertaining movie.
Incredible. I will say that.
Yeah, no, like it's
great quotes. So
yeah, lots of meme potential.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some examples of the Norman Osborn one.
Oh my god. When he screams at the board, you know how much I lost everything, like whatever he say towards the board members when they say they were going to take the company private, I think. And he just like, you cannot do this to me. I failed this company. Oh dear. Anyway. So I read. I think this was a good start for Spider-Man. It does everything right. As a superhero film, I was so happy we got like a fun superhero film after the first X-Men film was trying to be serious, and they did a good job of it. But it wasn't the superhero film you wanted, and I think Spider-Man did that. It delivered on that, right? And I appreciate that. Because now we don't get that as often. I mean, we get it with the MCU, but like I just want variety sometimes with the tones and all that, But yeah, I enjoy Spider-Man. It's my fifth favorite of the Spider-Man films, so that's good news. So Will, next week, what topic you want to go through? Do you want to do another 60 talk, or where you want to go? Where you want to go?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good for whatever.
Okay.
Um,
Um. Well, I mentioned the Hulk. Do you want to do a 60th anniversary talk and then add in the Ang Lee Hulk, the 2003 film?
sure, we can do that.
Okay, I think that'd be good because I'm a huge Hulk fan. I don't know if you like Hulk as a character. Um,
I'm not too familiar with him as like a solo character. So,
oh, okay, okay. I definitely can add some of the stuff here because he has a very fascinating comic run
mhm.
with Pierre David and all that.
Yeah,
So
well, I'm excited to hear about it then.
yep, yep. And I'm excited to talk about the Ang Lee Hulk because that was my third like film I see in theater, and
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, I
uh,
I think I caught it on TV once when I was in like middle school.
really.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're lucky. 2 hours of therapy. That's I can explain the Hulk film. Uh, but yeah, but I'm gonna say that for next week. So thank you, Will, for coming for today. It was an awesome talk for a Sunday afternoon. Uh,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
yep, yep. So thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. Me and Will be back for another spectacular discussion on a Marvel property. So have a good weekend, guys, and we'll you know, hear from us soon. Bye.